2 hours down, taking it to 2 p.m., 2 hours to go. Jared Weiss, who covers the NBA for The Athletic, focuses mostly on Eastern Conference teams and started with the Celtics, now covers just all of the East. So we will get his thoughts on the Celtics tonight, as they have kind of been weirdly not talked about that much with how well the Cavs are playing and, being in that second seed pretty much all season long. I mean, it's not over, but it's probably over. They're 9-1 their last 10 games, and they've won 5 straight. So they've actually caught up to the Cavs a little bit. There's probably just not enough time to catch them, and whether they are that worried about going to Cleveland, if it comes down to it or not. I think when you're the champs, you're not too concerned about it. So we'll talk to Jared Weiss about that, some of the disrespect maybe the Celtics have been feeling, or are they just used to it at this point? So that's going to be in about 15, 30 minutes. He is getting all settled, being on the road. So we'll catch him when we can. And hopefully the Kings start catching W's pretty soon here, as they have been catching illnesses as of late, with Malik Monk out last game with illness. Jake LaRavia was out, questionable with illness as well last week. And now Devin Carter added to that list as well. And I do wonder, Kyle, if he, based on that timeline, I wonder if he didn't feel great during the Bucks game. Who knows? He didn't play that much. So
there's something going around.
There's definitely something going around. There is for sure something going around. So we will have all that for you in about 10, 15 minutes as we discuss the true 1A option conversation for the Sacramento Kings. So the interim beam team, these are their records based on the leading shot taker. Okay. DeMar DeRozan, their record is 5-5. Okay. Zach LaVine, when he is the lead shot taker, 4-2. Malik Monk, when he is the lead shot taker, 1-3. Domantas Sabonis, when he is the lead shot taker, 1-0. And Jonas Valanciunas, when he is the lead shot taker, 1-0. Now, during the most recent 3-7 stretch, DeMar DeRozan has been the lead shot taker 5 of those games. Zach LaVine has been the lead shot taker 2 of those games. And Malik Monk has been the lead shot taker 3 of those games. Good for a 3-7 start. Great research there by Kyle. I mean, the first thing that kind of sticks out to me is, the 10 games, and DeMar DeRozan was the leading shot taker in 5 of those games, right? So half of those games, he's taken the most shots. The idea of having a true 1A option, though, I think it goes back to your definition of true blue 1A, because going back to the Domantas Sabonis conversation and whether or not he was ever your number one, you could be a number one and not be the closer. That is very possible, right? So
yeah, Giannis.
Right, exactly. Because that's why he brought Dame, and I need somebody to, and it was Chris Middleton for a little bit before.
Oh, he said it out loud. Like, Chris Middleton is here because he is the closer.
So are we getting DeMar DeRozan and his closer mentality? Are they just using it too much, right? Should it more so be DeRozan should be a 2, maybe even 3 option, but he can still be your closer because that's what he does. And it doesn't really seem like he needs to be he wakes up in a rhythm, right? So I think that it's almost as if, and I got to go baseball, you know me, if you have a really good closer, right, like Mason Miller, just because he's a really good closer, you cannot throw that guy in the 4th inning and expect him to close out the game. Could he do it? I don't know, maybe, probably, but he's not going to have his best stuff, right? So to me, the DeMar DeRozan thing is just happening so much. And even when he is in closer mode, I still think it's a little bit too much DeMar DeRozan. And the problem is, going back to kind of the fit, is, let's get Zach LaVine going. Let's get Zach LaVine going. Zach LaVine probably, to be honest, is missing Domantas Sabonis. You could argue the most, because that would take the ball out of his hands. They were just starting to understand each other. We know Domantas can pass the basketball. So now you have a snowball effect to where, since there's no Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine can't really get going the same way he'd like to get going. So because of that, okay, DeMar, just go ahead and shoot even more. And whether or not everyone has a 1A option, whether or not they're good enough is the other question. I'm not saying DeMar DeRozan isn't good enough. I'm saying he's probably best served as a fourth quarter closing guy. And because you're using him, or it's happening throughout the duration of the game, I think it's affecting how effective he's been. I don't think he is a 1A at this point. I think he shoots a lot, but that doesn't necessarily make you a 1A. I don't think that the Kings have a true 1A.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was listening this morning to the Carmichael Dave and Jason Ross with Frankie Cardicelli.
We bring the boom. That's what we do.
And Frankie kind of made that distinction also when he just kind of said offhand they're kind of looking for a 1A this offseason, which was, there's a difference, I guess, between a 1A and a top 25 player, right? Like, DeMar DeRozan has been a 1A on every team he's been on for the last 7 years. I'd even argue like 11 years in the league. But I specifically mentioned the last 7 because since the trade of him from Toronto to San Antonio in the Kawhi Leonard trade, it was 7 seed first round exit, missed playoffs, 6 seed first round exit, missed playoffs, and then whatever happens this year for the Sacramento Kings. So you can be a 1A option in an offense, and that's fine. I guess the question is just, should that person be the 1A? Where I think there's two interesting conversations is, do the Kings have a player good enough to be a 1A on a playoff basketball team? And do the Kings interim beam team right now even have their own true 1A? Like, of this group, you would say it's DeRozan, because DeRozan is the one, as you mentioned, taking the shots down the stretch. 10 of the 20 games, he's been the leading shot taker, including 5 of the last 10. So I guess you would say DeRozan is the 1A of this group, but even that is not as defined as it might be on some other teams, or even as it was when De'Aaron Fox was there. So I feel like there's two different interesting conversations there.
Well, let's just get the elephant out of the room. Do you think that De'Aaron Fox was a 1A?
I think he was good enough to be a 1A on a playoff team. Whether or not he was good enough to be a 1A on a championship contender, I would say probably no.
Yeah. No, I don't think so either.
But I would say he was good enough to be a 1A on a Western Conference playoff team.
And the crazy thing is, not to get too caught up in it, but, De'Aaron, with some of the quotes that came out after he was long gone, essentially said the same thing. Now, he said that they needed a wing. He didn't say, I don't want to be the number one option, but he said I told Keegan Murray, this was him. I told Keegan Murray, most of these championship teams, their best player is a wing. That's what he said. And the only reason I bring it up is because you've moved on. It's not as easy to find, I think, as we think. So the other option is to have a cohesive unit that makes a lot of sense. And I'm not saying you can just wake up one day and become the Cavs, but the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell, I still don't know what to do with Donovan Mitchell, and I don't know what to do with Darius Garland. I think Donovan Mitchell is a 1A, but he's not a top 15 player in the league.
I would say he is.
But it's arguable,
yes,
right?
He's not arguable. Top 10.
Right, it's arguable. So and again, even with that being said, look at the team around him. It's still a really good team. So if you're not going to be able to get a top 10 guy that can just take over at any moment like Giannis, and you're not going to get one given to you like the Lakers, what exactly is your plan to get to where you want to go? There are multiple paths to be contenders, right? Because we know, let's just call a spade, they're more so and they should be. They are more so in the business of making the playoffs right now. You're not going to go from a 9 seed to a championship team, and it wasn't due to crazy injuries or anything like that. You're just not built like that yet. You have to get there. So what is the first step to get there, and what is the path that you're going? Are you going to go all in and find, like, look at Trae Young. We talked about Trae Young, and they don't win very often. They did beat the Warriors, but I don't think Steph played. Trae Young is not I don't think he's a 1A. He's kind of been a completely different player this season, but I believe if you got Trae Young, I think Donovan Mitchell is better than Trae Young, but if you got Trae Young around 4 other guys where everything made sense, he could be a championship point guard for you. He's not going to be your number 1. So the Kings need to figure out, do they have a true number 1 right now? They have DeMar DeRozan. Let's take it to 3 hitters, right? 3 hitters in baseball. Typically now it's moved more towards 2 hitters, but growing up, your 3 hitter was your best hitter, right? Just because someone bats 3 for you doesn't mean he's even a better hitter than anybody on the other team, but it's the best you have. So he's going to bat 3. DeMar DeRozan is a 1A on a team that, once again, is not going to the playoffs. So yeah, we have 1A.
Yes.
It's not good enough, but we have a 1A.
I mean, if you look at the numbers, you could make an argument they really should have Zach LaVine be the 1A. Yeah. But I think this is the interesting conversation of the interim beam team versus the long-term outlook of the team, right? Do I think that they need a better number 1 option in order to compete for the playoffs? Yeah, probably. Or yes. I'm sorry, compete for the championship. Yes. Yeah. Do I think that a team with, let's call a spade, 2 number 2s and a number 3 in DeRozan, LaVine, and Monk, do I think that team with Sabonis as the point center can make the playoffs? Definitely. Absolutely. If you gave this group a full season, I think they could be the 6 seed or the 5 seed in the Western Conference, best case scenario. But if you're talking about who is the number 1s on championship, I mean, there were years where we were debating whether Damian Lillard was a number 1 on a championship team, and he's one of the 75 greatest players of all time. So I think the group is small, but I think the group is larger than it used to be. The Kings are just in the unique position of their best player is not a 1A. I would say much of the time Sabonis is probably their number 3 scoring option in each iteration of the team they've had. I just think it's interesting how that will all fit together if and when Sabonis gets a chance to play with this group for a full season, which again, we don't know if they're going to. I would argue the best path is to get a number 1 better than DeMar DeRozan this offseason, but that might not happen.
Or are you willing to pony up and make it happen, right? And to me, look, if you don't want to rebuild, that's fine, but you do need to learn from your mistakes to where you know that a team has to make sense. Okay, we did get back a bunch of talent last season. We moved on from De'Aaron Fox, but the team didn't make sense. So let's make sure it makes sense this go round. Jared Weiss joins us on the other side as we discuss what's going on in the Eastern Conference and what Jared thinks about what's going on with the Sacramento Kings. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
You never know what you might hear when listening to a Sacramento Kings game.
Out of Keegan, going for another triple. Man, is he feeling it. Keegan, can he do it? Yes, there's